Imagine this. You're in the company-wide meeting and your boss is at the front of the room or on the screen, wherever your leadership lives in your organization. And then they see your name. You look up because, let's be honest, you were looking at your phone while you were in the meeting. They start talking about your team's work, and they use words like exceptional and above and beyond, and this is exactly the kind of leadership we need more of, and people start clapping. Someone sends you that text with the fire emojis, and it feels good. At least it should feel good. But somewhere in the back of your mind, there's a little quiet voice that says, last week we submitted a resource request. More headcount, more budget, more something. And it came back, what? Denied. And now you're being celebrated for doing all this incredible work with not enough people and not enough runway. And the praise should feel good, but in reality, what's happening in real life and what's happening from the mic are not in alignment. Today, we're talking about praise without protection. Welcome to Strong Face, the podcast for leaders caught between caring for their people and enforcing a system that wasn't built to do so without losing themselves in the process. I'm your host, Tamara Stewart, and in each episode, I take a real situation leaders face at work and show what's actually broken and what's yours to fix. Real quick before we get into it, here's the tea. And I mean that literally because I don't spill it. Yes, we're going to talk about real situations, real dynamics, real pressure that leaders face every single day. But we're not going to talk about real names of real people and real companies. I will never violate a confidence, and I'm never going to tell somebody's business on this microphone. Not because I don't have stories. Trust me when I tell you my stories have stories. But because that's unprofessional, not who I am, and just simply not cute. What I will do, however, is tell the truth about patterns, moments, and feelings associated with leadership decisions, because those belong to all of us, okay? Now, let's get into it. So here's what praise without protection looks like. It looks like other team leaders across the organization noticing your team's work. It looks like that shout out from your boss that put the target on your back and made you the most desirable, shiny object in the room. And now, here come the requests. Can your team take a look at this? Can you weigh in on a project? Do you have anyone that you can put on this group or that group? Or this team or that team? Or this cross-functional initiative or that cross-functional initiative? You're so good at this, we'd love to have your input. And so you say yes, because that's who you are, and because no one feels like contradicting what the boss said in front of everybody and the narrative that was just built around you and your team. But meanwhile, your team is giving you the side eye. It looks like workload that quietly doubles when the headcount stays exactly the same. No announcement, no acknowledgement, just more on the list of things to do. Same number of people, same hour in the day, different number on the list. It looks like your team's starting to feel the weight of being the good ones. Because being known as excellent in a resource-constrained environment doesn't mean that you get more support. It just means that more gets asked of you. Excellence without protection is a trap. It looks like you're going back to leadership again with the request for what your team actually needs to be sustainable, and being told in one way or another that there are not the resources to give you at this present time, but just keep doing what you're doing, and it's all going to work out. Sometimes with another compliment attached to it to soften the blow, because your leader thinks that you actually need it to help keep you going. It looks like the slow burn of being valued and unsupported at the same time. The tension in the oxymoron. How could it possibly be that you could be so good and so tired at the same time? And you don't always have the language for why it feels exhausting and frustrating, but you know that you sit with that every time you get ready to go into the office. Now, here's what your team may be feeling. Your team is tired too. They may or may not have told you about it. And they're not just tired physically. Yes, they are working longer hours. Yes, they are taking on more tasks. No, nothing else has come off of their plate. But they're also tired when it comes to how fair this is, because they realize that the words are not matching the actions. And whether you said anything about it to the people above you or not, they may not know. But what they do know is that things keep coming on and nothing is coming off. They keep telling you that they need help. They're not seeing anything come out of those discussions. And so they're starting to have that out-of-body experience where they start to wonder, are they the crazy one or is it you? That gap is demoralizing in the way that having a pizza party felt like a consolation prize when you didn't win the championship back when we were kids. They may not say it necessarily out loud, but the high performers on your team, the ones who have options, they're taking notes and they're watching what you're doing and they're calculating their next moves because they already see that there's no way that this train is coming off the tracks anytime soon. In fact, it just sped up with the momentum that your boss gave it when they gave you the public shout out in front of everybody. You might be feeling that's something that's hard to name because it's layered. There's pride in your team. You feel good about the fact that your team is getting the stuff done and they're kicking tail and taking names and you're getting public praise for it. Everybody wants to have a high-performing, strong-performing team that people recognize, particularly publicly, for being the kind of people that are getting things done in the organization. But you also are having to hold on to the fact that that's good until it's not. And sometimes that's just not good enough. And if you don't have what you need to be able to maintain and sustain that, you realize that all that public praise might be coming to a fast end because at some point the levee will break and you will not have what you need to be able to maintain and sustain everything that's coming at you. And if we're being honest, it can be a lonely place to be because when you've been publicly shouted out by your leader in front of all of your peers, that gives your peers a reason to give you a side eye too, especially if you're in an organization that breeds competition as a way to keep performance strong. So you don't know who's safe to tell your fears and your insecurities to or not because they might be looking to pounce. They may be looking to poach your strongest team member. They might be looking at the talent on your team and figuring out how they can lure them away since they've been publicly praised as being strong performers. So there's a little bit of isolation and loneliness that comes into this because who wants to look like they're poo-pooing on the productivity parade when they just got praised in front of everybody in the whole leadership team? Nobody wants to be that person. So you might not necessarily want to go and complain to your peer about the fact that, yeah, I just got this shout out and it sounded good and everybody clapped for me and it was all right and everything. But at the same time, I just asked for additional headcount and I didn't get it, or I just asked for more budget dollars and I didn't get it. You may not even want your peers to know that you've asked for additional headcount or additional budget. And so it puts you in a corner where it's not necessarily safe within your org to talk through the tension that you're balancing because you know that the public praise hasn't met the level of support that you need in way of resources, tangible or otherwise, to be able to move the needle and get things done. Now, let's talk a little bit about why this happens. It would be easy to say that your leader might be the problem, or they might be a bad person, or they're manipulating and they're controlling, and they knew exactly what they were doing when they got up in front of you, in front of the whole team, and told everybody what a great job you had been doing and your team had been doing when they knew that they denied your request last week. That's a real feeling that sometimes we as human beings have, but that's not necessarily the whole story. In fact, they might not have been being malicious at all. Sometimes they genuinely meant the praise that they gave you, and it was warranted and well-deserved. Your leader may actually feel like they want to honor you and they believe in the work that you're doing and in how much your team has been able to accomplish, and they want to acknowledge you for that. And they also may be operating within their own set of constraints. They may recognize that you, in fact, need the resources that you asked for, and they have been unable to garner those for you at their level of influence and sphere of control. They may not have any more budget dollars. They may be having conversations where they're negotiating additional resources for you unbeknownst to you. So it's not necessarily that it's a malicious intent or that they're trying to manipulate you by giving you the public praise. They may be doing what they can within their sphere of influence and control to help move the needle on your behalf, and it just hasn't come to fruition yet. They also could be feeling the squeeze. They could be fighting private battles that you don't know about. They could be battling for head count with their leader and within their own set of peers to even maintain the level of staffing that they have, including your level, but not just including your level, across their entire division. So I want to make sure that it's clear that it's not necessarily that the leader that's above you is setting you up for the okie doke, like I like to call it, setting you up to look good in public without giving you anything because it's some malicious thing going on. They might actually recognize and sense your frustration, and they may be doing the only thing that they feel like they have in their power right now to let you know that you are valued and that they see you and all the hard work that your team has been doing, even if they can't give you the additional budget, head count, or request that you've made so far. Sometimes it's their way of saying, I'm sorry. I see you. I'm sorry. If you just give me a little more time, give me a little more grace, I recognize what you're doing. I see the value of your team and what they're putting out. And if you can just hang in here with me, if you can just hold on to hope with me, we'll see this thing through together. It could even be that kind of a plea, very public plea, that's not always welcome, and it does bring about its own set of problems. But it could be a plea from your leadership to hang in with them just a little while longer, that they do truly see you and they do value you. Now, here's the thing. All that may be true, but it doesn't mean that you don't have a real situation that you got to navigate. And so there are certain things that you should be doing as a leader, because you have a set of people that you're responsible for that are going to feel, whether directly or indirectly, whether intentionally or not, they are going to feel the impact of that bright light being shown on you as well as them in the meeting. So the first thing that you as a leader should do is be clear about how you feel about what just happened and why you feel the way that you feel about it. Are you the type of person that got a little bit of a thrill because you did feel your chest swell up a little bit with pride because you got the shout out in front of everybody? It's okay. You can be honest. You can say, yeah, I puffed out my chest just a little bit. It felt good to finally be seen and recognized. Did it cause fear? Did you feel a bit of a shrinking after the high of the moment wore off, where you thought to yourself, oh my gosh, now we're going to have to live up to all the hype? Were you feeling a little insecure and isolated that, great, now they put a target on my back and that's just one more set of knives I'm going to have to try to make sure I shield for me and my team? Did you feel a little protective? Or did you feel curious? It's important to be clear about how you felt about the situation, because when you go back and you relay what happened to your team, they're going to pick up on that energy, whether you say it out loud or not. One thing I've learned in all my years of leadership, when you lead people, they watch you. They learn your patterns. They learn the inflection in your voice when you say certain things. They look for inconsistencies within the pattern. They know that when your face doesn't match the words that you're saying, or when your body language gives a tell that maybe you're not in full alignment, they can pick up on those subtle nuances and know that something's amiss, something's a bit off. So if you're not clear with how you feel about it, before you go start telling people, guess what just happened in the team meeting? They'll be able to pick up on it, and they will clock you in a nanosecond. Now, once you've got the awareness, here's the hard part. I want you to get somewhere by yourself, and I want you to be real with yourself. I want you to ask yourself, are you doing this to anybody on your team? Are you giving praise without support? Are you giving praise without protection? Are you utilizing the gift of flattery as a way to smooth things over? Are you avoiding having hard conversations and deflecting with soft words? Because that's a real issue. And this is a great opportunity for you to see how it feels to be on the receiving end of that and make changes within your own leadership approach if you find that the answer to that question is yes. And then search yourself and figure out why. Is it because you don't want to hit the thing head on, or you are trying to show your teammate how much you value them, and you know that you did ask, but you're navigating your own set of constraints because you did ask for the additional resource and were told no, but you need your teammates to hang in with you just a little bit longer? Get real with yourself and ask, am I doing it to people that work for me? And if so, how am I making them feel? Because you should be pretty clear with how you're feeling about it right now. And I think it's important that we all take a moment, take a beat even, if you will, to recognize that motivation for people is as diverse as people are diverse. What motivates one employee, what motivates you, what motivates me might not be the thing that motivates our neighbor. Some people, public praise is a part of their work love language. Other people are completely turned off by that. If you want to show them or motivate them, show them recognition or appreciation, do that in a very tangible way. Do that with some more money. Do that with a pay increase. Do that with a bonus. Then there are other people who they don't necessarily, I mean, in this economy, most people want more money. So it's not necessarily about money. But for some people, money, when you get to a certain level, is not necessarily the driving factor anymore. They just want to know that somebody saw it. They might prefer their motivation and their recognition to be in a handwritten note, in something that's private and one-off, not something that's publicly in front of everybody on the team. So understanding that people are different and what motivates one might not be the thing that motivates another is an important thing that we all need to lean into. And there are times in our life and times in our leadership journey and our professional lives that we might prefer one over the other. And so just because I wanted public recognition yesterday doesn't mean that that's the thing that's going to make me feel like I'm really seen and valued on the team today, because we don't know what happened on the way to work this morning. And that's a real thing that impacts us all because life is dynamic and people are dynamic. Now, you've got all these asks that are coming. You've got the hot team and you're hot right now, and everybody wants a slice of the pie. Everybody wants a piece of you. What do? How do you manage? Well, I can tell you one thing. I hope if you don't hear anything else I've said today, that what you pay attention to is this. Get selective with your yes. You do not have to say yes to every ask that comes your way. You do not have to say yes to every ask of your team. It does not make you a bad leader. It makes you a protective leader. Protecting your people's bandwidth, protecting their time, protecting their talent, understanding what the outcome and end goal is before you commit a person is good stewardship. And it's a muscle that needs to be developed over time. And when you get that kind of spotlight, you have to go and you got to add some more reps to the situation so that you can get the muscle bigger faster. Because in every leadership experience that I've ever been in, and even when I was an individual contributor and I did not lead people, public praise always brought about more ask. When you are the shiny object, people want to be aligned and people want to be next to what's successful. And so if you're getting the public praise for getting a thing done and being the kind of person people can rely on, and leadership is calling you out, that makes you more marketable. It makes you a little bit sexier, if you will. And so people are going to be coming for you. And the quickest way to dilute your value is to say yes to everything and then be good at nothing. Get a little exclusive. Don't be afraid to ask some questions to help you make a decision about whether or not it's a good use of your time and your people's time. Even gently decline some things and say, unfortunately, we're moving in another direction right now, or unfortunately, we're not going to be able to support this, but we hope that you keep us in mind for something in the future. We'd love to collaborate down the road, but we're covered up right now. That actually makes you sometimes more desirable. But when you say yes to everything, people know that you'll sign up for anything, and it kind of dilutes your value over time, if we're being quite honest. I like to look at it like this. I'm not going to shout out brands, but if we're talking watches, anybody can go into a regular convenience store and just buy a regular watch. But if you want a certain type of watch, you know there are certain kinds of places that you got to go to get it. And it's going to be a little bit harder to find. It's going to be at a different price point. The packaging is going to look a certain way. When you get that kind of shout out in front of everybody, take it for the gift that it is and upgrade your packaging. Think about the way that you're talking about your team. Think about the way that you are modeling the work and showing what's being done. And where appropriate, say no sometimes, because the better you get at saying no, the smoother you are with saying yes. And the smoother you are with saying yes, the more productive you become and the way that you're able to turn those yeses into things that move your needle forward. And so getting clear about what you want for your team and the trajectory of your team, this is a pivotal moment where you can take this public praise without protection and turn it into something that helps you elevate not just the work of your team, but the people on your team. And people want to feel valued, and they want to know that they have a leader who's thinking about what's next and helping to get them in rooms where they may not be able to get in on their own, and advocating for them and creating opportunities for them to broaden their skill set, to have additional things that they're working on, to shore up areas where they may need a little more strengthening. Take it as the gift that it is. Yeah, it might not feel all that great because you asked for that money, you asked for that person and you didn't get it. But take the praise without the protection and turn it into a pivot. And I would be remiss if I didn't say, look at what you can stop. So we've talked about being able to say no, but we haven't talked about assessing what we're already doing and stopping some stuff. I'll probably say it. I won't say it on every episode, I promise. I know I said it on the last episode. If you haven't had a chance to listen to it, please go back and listen to what happens when everything is a priority and nothing is. But getting good at saying no and getting good at stopping stuff is the secret weapon in the leadership arsenal that people are not talking about enough. You got to be willing to stop some stuff if you really want to get great at the thing that you're great at. Opportunity cost is real. And whatever it's taking, effort, energy, bandwidth, teammates, head count, time allocation, whatever it's taking to get the thing done, you are leaving something on the table, not getting it done because you put your resources in a different direction. So the quicker you get used to saying no and stopping things that don't move your needle forward, the more effective a leader that you're going to be. Now, here's what I want to sit with, and I want you to sit with it with me for a moment. Praise is currency. It really is currency. True, it doesn't always feel like it when the resources that we've asked for, we've not been able to garner, and we feel as though we question the motives of the person that's giving it. That's a real thing. And if you're in an organization right now where trust is at a premium and people aren't able to afford it because you've seen the list of bodies and you've seen the betrayals and you've seen the duality and people talking out of both sides of their mouth. And so you're not really sure who is who, and you're trying to read the tea leaves to figure out if this is even really where you think you want to be as a leader. But somehow, some way you're showing up with your strong face in front of your team every day. That's a real thing too. That could be going on. And hear me well when I say praise is still currency. You can take that praise that you got in public and you can leverage it to do a couple of things. You can use the request of time and the request of influence and the request of input as a true constraint on your bandwidth. You can use it to help you say no to things that don't align with the mission of your team and where your team is trying to go. You can use it to strengthen your business case for why you actually need the head count that you requested that got denied the first time. If there's an uptick in ask, we've been asked to do this, we've been asked to do that, we've been asked for a team member here, we've been asked to take on this. You can track that and go back to your leader with a stronger case for why you need the additional support so that you can continue to maintain the level of output that you're doing and the level of productivity that you're giving as a unit. But also you can show the true facts in the numbers of all the asks that have come in as a result. And you can use it as a highlighting moment to show exactly what your team has been doing. You can take that praise and you can leverage it as a circle back moment with your leader to reorient them about what all you have going on. And you can continue it as a part of your long game strategy as you help to shape and shift where your team's trajectory is and how much of a value add you can be if you get access to other spaces that you might not be playing in. It's currency. You just got to learn how to spend it. And no, it doesn't necessarily cover the gap in headcount. The headcount issue is an immediate right now problem that needs to be addressed. It needs to be solved. It needs to be worked out. The budget is a real constraint that has to be managed. But every constraint has to be managed. And so you take a look at what you can do with what you have, what you can stop doing. You say no where it's strategically feasible. You reiterate to your team that you're open to feedback and you want to hear from them about what's working well, what's not working, what are things that they're working on that they feel are low value add, where are their opportunities for efficiencies, and then you go after those things. Getting to a place where you're not absorbing workload that's not sustainable, but you're able to tweak and adjust that workload based on all of the demands that's coming. It's a fine balancing act and a fine game. But you can take this moment that might have you looking a little bit salty, and you can take it and make it that perfect seasoning on a well-curated set of offerings that you give up to your leadership team and across the organization. Lastly, as we think through the strong face that you may be having to put on with your team when you go back and you tell them about this public praise, or they start to see, you may not even tell them. They just start to see all of these asks that are coming out of the woodworks, and they're wondering, where is all this coming from? Why are there all of these requests coming into the inbox for the team? Or why is, every team meeting, there's this initiative, that initiative that's being added, and they didn't see this coming? You can take this as a moment to let your team know that the work that they do every day is seen, is recognized, and is valued in a way that is elevating the department. And you can start having conversations with them about visioning and dreaming, where they go from being someone that's inheriting and taking on the impact of all of these asks to someone that's collaborating with you and visioning out what else the team could do and what's possible. And when you're able to take something like that currency like that, and you're able to leverage it in a way that positions your team for more, for better, for stronger, and you're able to take those data points and use them as leverage to get the resources that you need, that's when you start playing a different leadership game. That's when you go from playing checkers and you start playing chess. And your team, while they may not understand everything that you're doing in the moment, if you're honest with them about how this visibility can help bolster the work of the department, the resources that you get, the opportunities for collaboration, and the opportunities for their development, they will see how it's a net positive, and they'll be willing to be alongside you as you start looking at how to balance all the new demands that are coming in. And at the end of the day, as a leader, what you want is you want people to trust in your vision. You want people to know that you've got a handle on what's going on, even if you can't call all of the conditions, even if the weather factors are telling me that it could be a tornado and it could be a hurricane and it could be a snow shower, which is our present situation in Chattanooga, Tennessee right now, where this podcast is being taped. We don't know what season it is. We got to be dressed for whatever when we walk out the door. But when your people know that you have a handle on whatever is coming and you have a plan for whatever's coming, that's where trust is birthed. That's where people are willing to hang in there with you for the long haul. When you are willing to put down that strong face where you think that you have to have all the answers for people to follow behind you, that's not where true trust lives. That's where insecurity and fear lives. True trust is saying, I don't have all the answers right now, but I got a plan and I need your help because you're your subject matter expert in the thing that you do well. And I need your thought partnership and leadership here, teammate. But we've got this opportunity to really elevate the work of this department. How do we do it in a way where we can better meet the needs of our customers? We can better meet the needs of the community. We can better push forward the mission of the organization. And then you go from dreaming by yourself to dreaming collectively. And that's where real synergy lives. Oftentimes, we don't think about how we show up as leaders to other people. If there was something that I said that resonated with you about how you feel and the challenge to ask yourself if you've ever done it to one of your team members, let me know how that lands with a comment below. Why would I call this praise without protection? Because as leaders, there are some of us who feel as though we should care for the people that we lead, and we should be looking out to support them, shield them, boost them where they need to be boosted, protect them from politics and things of that nature. And when you get public praise and you have some type of misalignment because a level of support that you've requested has been immediately denied, it can feel like there's a lack of protection. How could it be possible that I could be getting this praise, but this thing that I just asked for was denied, and it's critical to the success of the team? And so the reason that I use that word protection is because being in a situation where we feel like the words don't line up with the actions makes us feel isolated and like we're out here on an island alone. And when I think about how that's internalized, it's a very vulnerable, unprotected feeling that I think leaders experience when they feel like they're on the island by themselves and they've asked for the support, they've asked for the resource, they've asked for the head count, and they didn't get it. But now they're getting this public approval stamp. They're getting this public praise. So there was a very intentional use of the word protection there, because you feel wide open when you feel like your leader doesn't have your back. And when you've told your leader that your team is strapped and you need more people, or you need to stop something, or you need more budget, and you don't get it, it's very easy to make that connection that you're on your own. As you can see, Strong Face is going to talk about things that real leaders are dealing with in the real world every day. And here's a little teaser, because I like to tease sometimes. Next time, we're going to talk about that dreaded thing that we all know and some of us are guilty of doing. It's the meeting before the meeting before the meeting. And we might even get into the text message that happens in the meeting while we sitting in the meeting. We're going to dish on it in the next episode of Strong Face. So make sure you like, subscribe, follow, and share, because we got to keep these faces together, people. Thanks for listening to Strong Face. If this episode resonated with you, or it sounds like a familiar story you've heard from a friend at happy hour, subscribe and share it with them. We can continue to unpack these things together.